it's tough that we're in this part of the year where we're already looking to next season, but to be real, we don't really shy away from looking to next season. What are the season-defining answers to some of these teams across the college football landscape that, quite frankly, could shape their 2025? We'll talk about it right now. I got one for each conference of the Power Four. But let's start in the Big Ten. Let's address what Michigan is right now. What's their big question? Who's going to be quarterback? Who's going to be the guy at quarterback? And whoever that guy is, how good is he going to be? Here's my opinion on this. I think Bryce Underwood is going to be that dude from day one. Now, I did not say he wins the Heisman Trophy. I didn't say he's all Big Ten, but I think he's going to be that dude. I think he's going to be a massive upgrade from what you've had in the past. That's not throwing shade at Davis Warren or Alex Orji. It's just the reality of having a true freshman quarterback that was number one in America the year before at the high school level and has a bunch of physical giftings that you just straight up can't coach. There's also a reason why you brought in Chip Lindsey to run a different style of offense. I don't think that's a coincidence when it comes to who Bryce Underwood is as a player. Open it up a little bit more. So what would that mean? Like, that's the answer to the question. Hey, Bryce Underwood's a guy. What does that mean? Well, first off, it totally changes the ceiling of Michigan football in 2025. Again, no disrespect to Mikey Keene at all, but like, if you are able to maintain those Michigan traits of we're going to punch you in the face and smile doing it, okay, that's one thing. But then you pair with that a real electric player at quarterback who can push the ball downfield, make you miss in space, take off and run, and launch it over your head. Like, if there's a vertical presence to Michigan's offense as well, it's kind of what they had working for them during the national title year, right? Not predicting them win the national title, at least as of right now, but you would have to think, too, that massively shakes up the Big Ten. The Big Ten then potentially still has 4 playoff teams. Like, we'll see what Indiana is, but you have Ohio State, as much as you hate to hear it if you're a Michigan fan, Oregon, Penn State. I'm not shying away from saying Michigan could be a playoff team if Bryce Underwood is who I believe he's going to be. So at that point, then, the Sharon Moore era, it's like seeing that one of those first shots go down. You're a shooter from the three-point line. You see that first one go down. You say, okay, some momentum now. Hey, our first big get at the high school level, like I say big get, like a dude is the number one player in America kind of get for Sharon Moore. Okay, that probably flywheels the momentum for what Sharon Moore's new Michigan is going to be. Always done more with less. What if they do more with more? Could be a fun little hashtag too, more with more, the second more with 2 O's. I'm just saying, like Sharon Moore. If y'all use that, we'll go ahead and verbal trademark that, send that in the mail when it comes to that check. But all that's to say, I believe Bryce Underwood will be that dude, and I believe Michigan football will be once again in that top-tier discussion for the Big Ten Conference. Let's move to the SEC. Here's the question I have, and then we're about to answer it. But the surge that Florida had at the end of the year was so first-team all-momentum at the end of 2024 with the ranked wins over Ole Miss and over LSU, and then obviously you beat Florida State. Sorry, Florida State. But how real was that is my question. And my answer here is I think it's real. I think DJ Lagway, even him not being full health at the end of the year, gives me confidence in this. Returning lines of scrimmage gives me confidence in this. The backfield and Jaden Bott gives me confidence. I think Florida, with that being the case of their surge being real, that means Florida is once again going to be a problem, not just for the SEC, but the rest of college football. Like the SEC, I was talking with Cato about this before the show. A lot of the traditional powers in that conference are the big boys, if you will. Texas is not a traditional power in the conference, but I mean, they played for the conference last year. New quarterbacks. Like Alabama, coming off a year where they were kind of lackluster, going to be starting somebody new. Georgia starting somebody new. Texas starting somebody new. Garrett Nussmeier, he's coming back for LSU, but I don't think LSU feels like they're free of any question marks. If Florida and DJ Lagway, again, can recreate what they did at the end of last year, it's not ridiculous to think they could be in the discussion for Atlanta. Now, we'll make our prediction when we make our prediction, but even if they don't play for an SEC championship, even if they're just in the mix, what are they? Probably a playoff team at that point, right? To take it a step further, you then remove, I think, a lot of haze that was insecurity around the Florida brand, around Billy Napier, and saying, is he going to be there? And what are they going to, who's going to be what's the future of Florida football? Can they get back to where they've been in the early 2000s? We'll see if that happens. But again, with them to feel more confident in what Florida is going to be, them being recruits, you then once again activate one of the biggest brands in college football. You activate the brand that is the team in the state of Florida with the SEC logo next to their name. A lot of kids want to play in the SEC. It's not me telling you the SEC bias. It's me telling you that kids see where the draft picks come from. Those SEC schools might not be the worst idea to take my talents and play for one of those teams. So with that being said, DJ Lagway, Florida, I think it's real. I think they continue that momentum from 2024 and 2025. And I think they are in the mix to make some noise in that discussion for Atlanta. Now, I want to explore this a little bit because I think the no to the answer to that question of no, it wasn't real at Florida is worth unpacking. Not because I think it's going to happen, but just because I think there's something to be said there. The ripple effect of that would be crazy. Because what does that mean? It means Billy Napier's probably gone at Florida, which means one of the most high-profile jobs in college football becomes available, which means Florida probably goes out and I think snags a known commodity from another high-profile spot, which means that whole high-profile school, is then on the search for a coach. So the carousel gets turning. Who knows what happens with the portal and the rest of this roster? But there's a lot there that I think will happen if what I'm saying, in my opinion, is incorrect and Florida isn't all that. College football sickos, make sure you are subscribed right here to the On3 YouTube channel. On this show, The Hard Count, it's college football, nothing but college football all year round. Now, this show is brought to you by our friends over at PrizePicks. Daily fantasy, easy to use, easy to play, easy to withdraw what you win. Follow us here. Use code HARDCOUNT at PrizePicks.com. We're going to do our very best to make us all some money. Now, even if we don't, when you play with code HARDCOUNT at PrizePicks.com, make yourself $50 in promo funds to then go ball out the rest of this playoff. So again, code HARDCOUNT, $5 in lineups, gets you $50 in promo funds at PrizePicks.com. We appreciate y'all subscribing. We appreciate y'all using that code with our friends PrizePicks. But you know who would benefit from Florida not having success in 2024, at least on the recruiting trail? How about Miami? Have a chance to claim the state. Can Carson Beck pick up where Cam Ward left off? My opinion is yes. And when I say left off, I'm not telling you that Carson Beck's going to go out there and duplicate the exact production that Cam Ward had. Cam Ward had the best single season statistically of any Miami quarterback in history. So, let's put that to the side. But just being able to be the catalyst for the offense, being a quarterback-driven system under Shannon Dawson. They threw the ball, 55, 60% of the time at Miami last year? Down the field, they were top 5 in America when it came to yards per pass. They lived through the air. So Carson Beck being serviceable enough, or not serviceable, being better than serviceable and able to make that whole thing hum, what does that mean for Miami? Well, it means they're probably in the spot where they're competing yet again for the ACC championship. It means they're probably knocking on the door of the college football playoff. It also means there's massive pressure now on Miami to figure it out on defense, dude. Can't have 2 years where the defense is the reason why you don't achieve your goals when the offense is out there putting up numbers like Goodwill Hunting. I digress. When you come to a macro discussion around Miami, think about how you would view the Canes if you're a portal quarterback. You don't really want to live through the portal all the time, but if you can just go and cherry pick the top guy from the portal every single year, people talk about quarterback development, who have they developed in-house? It's dude, I don't know, but the dude just playing on Saturdays for them is throwing absolute seeds. I don't really care about development if I got a top guy every single year. So I think the billboard, like we said, what Cam Ward did that probably helped bring Carson Beck to Miami, if you got 2 years of that kind of sample size, Miami's going to be in good position at the quarterback spot for a minute. Okay, so, and with that being said, we say this with Florida too, being the team in the state, if you win the ACC and you make the college football playoff, if you're Miami, be some electric recruiting battles if Florida and Miami are both top of their game. So we'll leave that there, but I do believe Carson Beck will answer the question with a yes and pick up where Cam Ward left off from a momentum standpoint for the Canes. Now, let's go to the Big 12 to finish out here. There's a lot made about ASU losing Cam Skattebo. And Cam Skattebo, Gallon Jug Player of the Year for us here on the Program Awards. All right, so we stand Cam Skattebo as much as anybody else. Cam Skattebo accounted for a ton of production last year in Tempe. There's no way to sugarcoat that. That is not a small loss by any stretch of the imagination. Do they take a step back with no Cam Skattebo in the lineup? I don't think so. My opinion is I think that Sam Levitt goes absolutely berserk. I think Jordan Tyson, him staying in Tempe is absolutely massive, and he goes off, and I think that they, quite frankly, carry Arizona State to being in that Big 12 title discussion for the second year in a row. Like, we're sitting here, and it's January. I don't really do predictions before August, but if you want one right now, I'd pick Arizona State to win the Big 12 as we sit here right now. Best quarterback. I think you could argue the best coach right now in the Big 12. I know Matt Campbell's there. I know Kyle Whittingham's there. I get all that. But like right now, I'll take ASU. And the ripple effect of that is so huge because at that point in time, I promise you, there's going to be jobs open next year in the world of college football. And Kenny Dillingham is going to be at the top of the wish list for any high-profile job. And he should be. He totally should be. But here's the deal. I think he'll go full Leo DiCaprio. I'm not leaving. And one, because he's loyal to the soil. He's from Arizona, grew up going to Arizona State games and tailgating in the parking lot. Like, he's sticking with Arizona State. But think about what that would mean for Arizona State as a brand and what they would be on the recruiting trail. We want to talk about activating the Valley. A head coach that wins back-to-back Big 12 titles and is able to elevate a Sam Leavitt to probably being a high NFL draft pick, whether it's next year or the year after. Like, Arizona State becomes a destination from a resources perspective and from an optics perspective because your head coach is moving into fixture territory in that position at Arizona State. Like, he's not leaving for anything. And so we've said this a few times, but does Arizona have the talent of a Florida at the high school level or of a Georgia or a Texas? I'm not here to say that, but I do think there's enough talent in that state to where if you put a fence around that gosh darn thing, you could probably run the Big 12. That's my opinion. Put a fence around Arizona, keep a guy like a Bijan Robinson at Arizona State. Yeah, that would work. Guy from Arizona. Christian Kirk, that would work. So I'm not trying to oversimplify, the impact, but I think it'd be massive. And I think that the Big 12 is very much so a gettable conference. It's really it's like Survivor, right? Like you can probably lose 2 games in that conference and still win the Big 12. I think that's Arizona State. I think it's what they'll be in 2025. And I think that Sam Leavitt, Jordan Tyson, Kenny Dillingham, vibes should be very, very good in Tempe after the season, even with Cam Scadaboo leaving for the NFL and all the production that he brought with him. So to recap it here for you, Bryce Underwood, I'm calling my shot. I think he's that dude from day one. Puts Michigan right back into that top tier of the Big Ten Conference. Florida, how real was that surge at the end of the year? Real enough. And there's enough question marks across the SEC to where they can make some noise and find their way in that discussion in November to find their way into Atlanta. And even if they don't, to activate the brand that is Florida football, huge. Absolutely huge. Carson Beck picking up where Cam Ward left off. I think it happens. I think Miami's right there again on the doorstep of the college football playoff. And the blueprint for transfer portal quarterbacks across the country, across the universe. So I got 1 more year. I got 2 more years. Miami's got a pretty good resume when it comes to helping guys go pro and have success. I'll go there. And then Arizona State, we just mentioned. No Cam Scadaboo. Not no problem, but no Cam Scadaboo. No real step back. Shout out Sam Leavitt. And they get it done, and they win the Big 12. And the Valley is, in fact, very much so activated, if you will.